All right, listener question today. This will be, well, sort of a few different directions to take this one. The question is, newer USPSA shooter here. I did a special classifier match and made B class. Recently started recording my matches and have realized I'm over confirming when drawing and coming into shooting positions. I'm always looking for a stable dot before pressing the trigger. Are there any tips or training drills that would be useful for this problem? So, this is a pretty common issue. Let's be real. The issue he's talking about is staring at this or looking at the target, see the sight come up, and there's an amount of like over confirmation where the sight stays there longer than it needs to before you start shooting. Kind of comes from two different ways. I'll talk about while moving and not moving separately, but it's kind of going to be the same thing. While you are not moving, so from the draw or bringing the gun, just moving it to the target, commonly a couple different things happen. One, people bounce their vision back and forth between the sight and the dot, kind of not trusting, I think is a way to say it, that the sight's there or that the results are going to be there. So instead, wanting to make it perfect or over confirming, bouncing your vision back and forth between the sight, target, and at some point, you'll fire the shot. I would like to suggest, if anything, that actually makes you less accurate. Regardless of over or under confirming, you want to be target focused and not bouncing your vision. If I'm group shooting, whether it's a scoped rifle or a handgun with iron sights or a handgun with a red dot, I find I get the best results if I laser focus the spot I want to hit, and then I'll see the dot peripherally between me and the target, and it'll be floating around a little bit, and I'll just keep like gradually applying the pressure. If I'm trying to like sight in a gun or shoot a small target, gradually apply the pressure while the sight kind of just bounces, and at some point the gun goes off, and the sight will be just floating on the target or close to the middle of it. So at some point, good to go. If I switch my vision back and forth, you'll find yourself typically needing to make corrections. So while you're doing the trigger press, you're like, oh, dang, it's a little bit left, a little bit right, a little bit left, a little bit right. The reason for that is when you stare at the sight, it's tough to track the spot you want to hit. So I bring my vision back to the sight, it moved a little bit, I move it up, then I look at the target again, like, okay, good, we're there. Then I move back to the sight, I realize it wandered a little bit while I was staring at it, and it's tough to keep it like in the very center where I want bullets to go. Instead, keep bouncing my vision back and forth, and the sight kind of wanders with that. A fun little tip or drill you could do at home, just pick a small target you want to shoot at, focus hard on the target, and let whatever sight you have kind of float between you and the target, and do that for 20 or 30 seconds. Then switch your vision back to your sight and hold that for 20 or 30 seconds. You'll notice all of a sudden it gets way tougher to do when you're staring at your sight compared to staring at your target. You'll also become aware of how much your hands are moving, and it gets like way tougher when you stare at the sight to keep it in the center of the target. So obviously target focus is the way, but even if people intellectually understand that, it's tempting to want to bounce your vision back and forth and confirm that the sight's there, it's in the right spot, or that you're good to go. So like I said, the first feedback is make sure you stay target focused, not bouncing your vision. The second one along with that is just learning to react to the color of your sight instead of your dot looking like a dot. That doesn't just mean, if I'm looking here, that once I see red anywhere in my peripheral vision, I decide it's good enough to shoot. I'm not suggesting that. Instead, what I'm saying is if you stay looking here, I'll just wait, and as soon as red touches my eye line or where I'm focused at, that gives me permission to fire the shot. It's easier said than done. People will commonly want to, well, yeah, it's real easy to say, but when you're shooting for score or anything like that, it's really tempting to want to make sure you stare at the sight and make it perfect. So this is a good concept to apply in training. A thing I really like doing is using an aiming reference, so a black paster, put that on the target, hold the gun at low ready or on another target, whatever, I don't care. Then instead, focus on the spot where you want the bullets to go, just bring the sight to where you're looking. Once the color red touches your vision, fire the shot. Do that for 3, 4, 5 shots. and then just like holster the gun and look at the target, and you should have some observations, like did that work or did that not? Just reacting to the color for most people, probably out to like 10, 15 yards, is pretty reasonable, I think, for most skill levels. It kind of depends on your skill and ability. I think reacting to the color is something most people do more at longer distances, whatever that means to you, after you get more experience. But if the concept's new to you, anything like 10 yards and in, you should be able to do that. The next step beyond reacting to color would be making your sight look like a sight. So if it's iron sights, it'd be front sight aligned through the rear sight, or for a red dot shooter, your dot actually looks like a dot. It's no longer streaking up, but it's came up to your eye line, it's stopped, not moving, and it looks perfectly still and round before you press the trigger. That doesn't mean anybody's staring at it. It just means I'd be target focused, but waiting for my sight to get there, stop, and be stable before I shoot. Again, for most people, for longer distances, probably 15 yards and plus, for most people, they'll want to use that kind of technique just for more accountability for where the bullets go. So let's talk about wall, because the other part of his question was coming into shooting positions. Honestly, a lot of the stuff's going to be similar. What's happening is, while you're moving into a position, you'll look at the spot, you'll see the sight come there, and then you'll want to wait. Same issues. Bounce your vision back and forth, wait for your sight to be stopped, stable, not moving, then press the shot, or any variety of things like that. Instead, I want to suggest your feet and your sights should not be connected on any level. What I mean by that is, if I'm moving into a position, or let's say you're actually do something cool, unlike I just shoot guns in dirt pits. If you actually do something cool in real world, if you're walking around or CQB, whatever, if your feet are off balance or you're in the middle of walking in between strides, in between footsteps, if your sight is where you want the bullets to go, and you see like that color confirmation, you should be able to fire the shot independent of if both feet are flat on the ground, one foot's off the ground, one foot's about to step, one foot just lifted up. You're in between breaths, your heart is in between beats, fill in the blank, any other nonsense. Instead, you just shoot based on what the sight does, and you want to work to disconnect your upper body doing the shooting from your feet just carrying you where you need to go. Like again, I don't do anything cool. I would suggest to you that works the same for real world or just practical shooting. So in the sense of a practical shooting stage, you run to the spot, you mount the gun early, so you're kind of trying to wall hack or have the gun pre-aimed up, pointed at the target if you can see it, or maybe on the wall, getting ready to, as soon as you see the target, the gun will be up and ready. Then you laser focus on the target when you can see it. Once the color of your sight hits where you're looking, you fire, regardless of maybe one foot's off the ground, maybe your feet are, you're doing a cross step or your mid step or mid stride, whatever. Instead, you just, when the sight looks good, you start shooting. That is, like that, this is the way, honestly. So a couple drills for this I really like. A simple one is called bar hop. You just put two targets side by side, or they could be set in depth. You could put a no shoot on one, full target, whatever. To start off with, just doing a simple setup, two targets side by side, 5 to 7 yards. Just have a stick on the ground. You could use a target stick, a broom handle, whatever you have. You want to practice going forward to backward and left to right. Basically, both, you're in a wide aggressive stance. Feet are right next to each other. You just step across the stick, and you're going to shoot the targets each 2 times from each side of the stick. So in the example of walking forward, it'd be left target, right target. You'd step across the stick, left target, right target. As you do that some more, with experience, you want to work to blend the two, where the drill doesn't, I don't care about footfalls, it doesn't matter, but you want to get to the point where you're just pulling the trigger 8 times, and you're just stepping across the stick while you're looking for spots you want to hit on targets and just reacting to the sight. So the fact that you're stepping across this dumb stick that doesn't really matter becomes irrelevant, because you're just shooting based on the sights. You're not shooting based off of being a little bit off balance, having one foot on the ground, one foot off the ground, waiting till you hold your breath, waiting for the exhale, whatever, any of that stuff. Instead, you're just reacting to what you see. It's easier said than done, but again, this is the way. to put that into a bigger context, then you could do something like we do a drill called track VA zone. If you punch it into the YouTube machine, there's plenty of drills or class videos of me, Steger, or Kim doing that drill, so you could see kind of the setup. But basically, it's 4 targets side by side, a couple of vision barriers between you and the targets, and what you end up doing is just shooting the targets when you see them as you walk through, and the vision barriers get in your way. But the drill, we don't want you to stop moving your feet to shoot the targets. So it forces you to keep walking a little bit. And while you keep walking, you're looking for spots on the target and just reacting to your sight, opposed to treating it like multiple shooting positions, where you'd see the sight there, you'd stop moving, then shoot, then start moving again, wait till you see the sight on the target, stop moving, then shoot again. Again, being comfortable shooting while you're off balance, just reacting to what you see, because your upper body does the shooting part, your lower body just carries you where you need to go. It's easier said than done, because right now if it's like, hey, I want you to walk to your car, nobody would reply in the comments, so should I step with my left foot first or my right foot? Should I step this way? I'm like, bro, just walk to your car, for crying out loud. But all of a sudden when people have a handgun in their hands that's loaded, things get way more complicated, way more confusing. So, I mean, like, broad picture, yeah, you want your hips pointed the direction you're going, those kind of things make sense. But overall, the big concept is just walk. You've been doing it your whole life. You want principle based, so your feet are spread apart, knees bent, wide aggressive stance. But the important part is reacting to the sights and the appropriate sight picture for that target, regardless of what your feet do. Your feet just carry you, then you can spend the bulk of your bandwidth on the shooting part, looking for targets you want to hit and then reacting to the appropriate sight confirmation. So, hopefully this answers the question, gives you some things to think about. If you have any follow-up questions or different questions you'd like me to answer, please drop them below in the comments. I do my best to read through all the comments, and if I can't answer your question in just a sentence or two in the comments, I'll just make a video. So, appreciate you watching. Like, share, subscribe, and all that crap if you want to. If not, that's okay too. Either way, I appreciate you watching and hope you have a good day.